Welcome, friends, to US Frights, where you'll find chilling stories that will make your heart pound. Today's story is about a man named Sam who lives in Texas. So now I'll tell you this story from Sam's perspective. But before I start the story, I want to tell you that although you've heard many stories, the one I'm about to tell you today will be very enjoyable and also give you a sense of fear. And if you're visiting this channel for the first time, be sure to subscribe so you can become a part of our family and easily receive our upcoming videos. Friends, you all listen to the whole story, but you don't like the video. But this time, I'm fully confident that you all will definitely like this video so that I can feel that you appreciate my efforts. Your one like encourages me to bring even better stories. So now, without further ado, let's quickly begin our story. Friends, my name is Sam and I live in Texas. If I talk about myself, I have a small family that includes my parents, my brother, and my wife. Professionally, I am a government employee and I work in the agriculture department. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of a night in my life that changed my entire life. Even today, when I recall that night, my condition worsens and my soul trembles. Friends, someone truly said that greed is a bad thing. We should never be greedy. In today's world, everyone's heart at some point gives in to greed, whether it's for money or something else. Now, you might be wondering why I'm talking about greed today. Well, let me tell you, I too once got caught in that trap of greed, and that greed brought me and my entire family very close to death. I wish I hadn't been greedy that night. Then perhaps the accident that happened wouldn't have occurred. You'll find out about this greedy matter shortly. Anyway, now I'll take you straight to the story. Friends, this was about 7 years ago. I had just gotten my new job, and my entire family was very happy about it. Whenever someone in a family gets a government job, there's no limit to the joy at that moment. Our home had a similar atmosphere. At that time, I wasn't married yet. Anyway, after getting the job, our household expenses were managed even better. Although it's not that before my job, the household wasn't doing well. Everything was fine back then too, because my father was also a government clerk, and our home was running well on his income. Now, for some time, everything went perfectly. I felt as if God had fulfilled all our wishes. I just prayed to God that no evil eye would fall upon our home. But perhaps I was wrong, because as happy as our family was at that time, now, in just a short while, they were going to be even sadder, and I was going to be the cause of that sorrow. Perhaps I had never imagined it. Friends, listen to the story carefully, because everything I'm about to tell is connected to this story. There will be no irrelevant talk. After I got my job, my parents started looking for a girl for me because they now wanted me to get married quickly. My mother's health was usually not good. She often used to tell me, once you get married and a daughter-in-law comes, I will also find some peace. Now, seeing my mother's condition, I also agreed. Although at that time, I didn't feel like getting married because I had just gotten a new job and I wanted to enjoy myself a bit. But as they say, what we think doesn't necessarily happen. Something similar happened to me. My parents found a girl for me. Her name was Sarah. Sarah was a good, cultured, and beautiful girl. Our engagement was settled, and within a few months, we got married. As I had imagined, Sarah turned out to be exactly that way. I mean, after marriage, she took great care of my parents. What more do we boys need? Just someone who respects our parents. For us, that's the most important thing. Now, talking about my friends, I have two close friends. One is named Robert, and the other is named Jake. Both of them are my childhood companions. The three of us studied together. Now, if I talk about my friends, both of them are also government employees today. Robert works in a bank, and Jake is a teacher. Both of them got their jobs before me, and now I had mine too. Whenever the three of us got time, we would spend it together. Every year, we would definitely go somewhere to travel. There are many places we have visited together. If I talk about myself, I love adventure, and my friends also love adventure. Now, for some time, everything was going very well. Our lives were running smoothly. But then one day, my friend Jake calls me and says, "Hey Sam, I'm thinking, why don't we make a plan to go somewhere? It's been a long time since we went anywhere. It's been a whole year now since we went out. What do you say? When should we go? Hearing Jake's words, I tell him, this is what I've been thinking about for several days too. But I thought you both might be busy. Every time you two make the travel plans. Hearing me, Jake says, yeah man, you're right. I was a bit busy for a few days, but now I'm free. No tension, I'll ask Robert too. If he's also free, then the three of us will make a plan to go somewhere. Hearing Jake, I also agree and then hang up the phone.
Hello.
After that, Jake calls Robert and he also gets ready to go. It had been many months since my marriage and my wife was now pregnant. Her delivery was still 2 to 3 months away. Now it wasn't right to leave my wife alone in this condition. It's not that she was completely alone. My whole family took care of her. But as I told you, my mother's health wasn't very good either. So then I started to worry about both my wife and my mother. Now I had also promised my friends to go out. If I didn't go, they would think I had become my wife's slave. Many of you know that if a friend just got married and his companions invite him to a party and he doesn't go, then friends say many strange things behind his back, like he was fine before marriage, now he has changed, and so on. And I didn't want anyone to say such things about me. So that's why I agreed to this trip. It's not that I didn't want to go out, but seeing the condition of my wife and mother, I was also worried about them. I even talked to my wife, Sarah, about it, and she gave me permission to go, and my family also told me to go. Anyway, the next day I receive another call from Jake, and he tells me about a plan to visit a hilly area. He tells me we'll go for the night. Now hearing this, I ask him, for the night meaning? Hearing me, he tells me, the three of us will go camping. It'll be a lot of fun, what do you say? So hearing him, I also agree because I had never camped before. This was going to be a new experience for me, and as I told you earlier, I love adventure. So hearing this talk of camping from him, I was quite happy. After that, we decide that we will go out 2 days from today. Anyway, after that, the three of us take leave from our work and then buy some supplies that we would need for camping. This included food and drinks and many other things that we bought for camping. After that, 2 days pass and the day comes when we are supposed to go. After that, Jake and I wait for Robert, and in a short while, Robert also arrives. The car was Robert's, and then we loaded all the camping gear into Robert's car. Friends, I had probably never imagined that by going in that direction, I would encounter something that would make my life worse than death. Anyway, after that, the three of us get in the car and then head straight for our destination. We three were very happy because this was a new experience for us. I was quite excited about camping. An open sky, a jungle view, the enjoyment of fresh air, and much more was going on inside me. We three were just thinking of making this camping trip a memorable moment. But perhaps our words were true. It did become a memorable moment, but it was so terrifying that I haven't been able to forget it to this day. Anyway, on the way we had a lot of fun. We played songs in the car and enjoyed the music. And we stopped at various places to enjoy the journey because we wanted every moment of ours to pass happily. Now, after traveling for a few hours, we reached the area where we had to go. But now the difficulty was that the car couldn't go to where we wanted to go because the road didn't go into that forest. The rest of the journey from there had to be done on foot. After that, we parked the car in a good spot and then took out all the camping gear from the car that we would need. Anyway, now the journey ahead had to be done on foot. The path we were taking was a jungle path, and we were looking for a place that was quite beautiful and had water. We wanted to go to a slightly elevated place from where the whole view could be seen well, and we could enjoy camping. Although we were also afraid of wild animals, that we might encounter one. But then, supporting each other, we kept moving forward. Friends, none of us three believed in ghosts or spirits because we thought that all of it was false and meaningless. These ghost stories only sound good in villages and tales. In today's era, there's nothing like that. But perhaps we were wrong because after today, our way of thinking was going to change, especially mine. One mistake of mine had put both of their lives in danger. You'll find out about that in a while. Friends, we traveled almost an hour on foot, and now we find a place in the jungle that we really like, which was quite beautiful to look at. And the place we chose was perfect for camping because there was a small river flowing below that spot. The water looked very clean, and the second reason for choosing this place was that it was a bit elevated. The advantage of this was that firstly, we could see the entire jungle view clearly, and secondly, if there was a fear of any wild animal at night, we could keep watch from this high place to protect ourselves. Anyway, after that we set up our tent at that spot. Setting up the tent was my job. Robert and Jake, meanwhile, collected firewood, which we would need throughout the night and also for cooking dinner. We had reached that place by 4 p.m. Friends, to be honest, that place was very peaceful, absolutely serene. The sound of the river flowing was like music to our ears. The entire view of the jungle looked very beautiful. That place felt nothing less than heaven to me. Anyway, in a short while, Jake and Robert collected the firewood, and then we started preparing dinner. Soon evening turned into night before our eyes. We brought water from the river for the night, and we had also bathed in that river. We three had a lot of fun. Truly, every moment of ours was passing with great enjoyment. But perhaps we didn't know that this enjoyment would soon turn into punishment. After bringing the water, we reached our tent, and in a short while, we started eating dinner. Friends, one thing I experienced was that the joy of cooking and eating in the jungle is probably unmatched anywhere else. Many of you must have experienced this too. Anyway, we finished our dinner in a short while, and then the three of us started laughing, joking, and talking a lot. We were having a lot of fun, and this experience was new for all three of us because never before had we camped anywhere at night. We had kept a fire burning outside our tent, and we still had a lot of firewood, which we would need for the night, because we knew that if we kept the fire burning, no wild animal would come near our tent, so we kept the fire burning continuously. The jungle was quite dense, and as the night deepened, the atmosphere became even more eerie. Now, after talking for a long time, Robert and Jake started feeling sleepy. And first Robert went into the tent to sleep, and then a short while later, Jake also went to sleep. But as he was leaving, Jake told me, "Sam, you should go to sleep now too. It's very late anyway." So, hearing him, I told him, Yes, I'll come too. You go to sleep. I'll just sit for a little while, then I'll come too." So hearing me, he went inside the tent and then fell asleep. Friends, I was sitting alone outside the tent. I had kept the fire burning quite brightly so that no wild animal would come near our tent, although we hadn't heard any wild animals sound yet. I also had a flashlight, with the help of which I was intermittently shining its light all around the jungle to see if any animal was near us. Anyway, everything was normal until now. After some time, I also started to doze off. And now I decide that I too will go inside the tent and rest. Before going inside the tent, I had put some more wood in the fire so that the fire would continue to burn for a long time, even after we fell asleep. Anyway, just as I tried to go into my tent, I hear the sound of anklets. It was the sound of someone walking. It sounded like a woman walking, and I could clearly hear the sound of her anklets. Now, when I hear the sound of these anklets, I first think that it's an illusion. But when I kept hearing that sound continuously for a while, I felt quite strange. And then I think, who else could be in this dense jungle besides the three of us? And this anklet sound is coming from the feet of a girl or a woman. I was still thinking this when suddenly the sound of the anklets became very loud. It sounded like a girl or a woman was running. Now, when I listen carefully to this sound, I shine my flashlight all around the jungle. But as far as my flashlight's light reaches, I don't see anyone. Now, when this happens, I feel very strange because I don't see anyone in this whole jungle, and now that sound stops. Now, when the sound of the anklet stops, I think that maybe it was my illusion. But if it was my illusion, then what was that anklet sound that I was hearing until now? I couldn't understand anything. After that, I hear something falling from below my tent where that river was flowing. It sounded like someone had fallen, or perhaps someone had jumped in that direction. I still couldn't understand what was happening to me. After that, I point my flashlight towards the river from where I was hearing the sound of someone falling. Then I move forward from my tent and head towards that river. The river wasn't too far away. It was below where we had set up the tent. Anyway, when I was going down towards that river, many thoughts were arising in my mind. Would it be right to go in that direction right now? Because it's possible that the sound I heard could also be of a wild animal. And this sound of falling or jumping that I heard, it's possible that it was just an animal. Because at such a late hour, no human could be in that direction. Now, when I was going in that direction, I first thought of taking either Robert or Jake with me. But then, I think that waking them up at this time wouldn't be right. It's very late anyway. After that, I go towards that river. I was just praying that it wouldn't be a large animal that could endanger me. Now, I could have stayed in the tent, but then I was also thinking that if I didn't find out what it was, it might attack us when we were all sleeping at night. Keeping this in mind, I go towards the river, and when I reach near the river, I shine my flashlight all around there too, but I don't see anything there either. After that, I thought that maybe it was just an animal, and it might have run away by now. Anyway, after that, I think of returning from that river. But before returning, I really need to use the restroom, and then I think that I should first use the restroom properly. After that, I'll go towards my tent. Friends, I use the restroom under a large tree near that river. Now, as soon as I use the restroom, my eyes fall on something on the side of that tree. That thing was quite shiny. At first, I thought it might be a broken piece of glass or something else. Now, after I finished using the restroom, I went straight to the side of that tree where I saw that thing. Now, many of you might be thinking about how I saw that shiny thing at such a late hour. Well, let me tell you, when I was using the restroom, I had my flashlight on, and it was by the light of my flashlight that I saw that shiny thing, and where I was using the restroom, that thing was lying just 2 or 3 steps away from me. Anyway, after that, I reached the spot where I saw that thing. Friends, as soon as I get there, I see that the shiny thing is nothing but a bracelet. And when I pick up that bracelet in my hand, it looks quite beautiful and large. If I talk about this bracelet, it looked like it was made entirely of gold. It was quite shiny, and there was a lot of intricate work visible on it. Now, when I find that bracelet, I become very happy. But one thing I couldn't understand was how this bracelet ended up in this deserted jungle. But then, I think that maybe someone else had come here before us, and this bracelet might have fallen from one of them. Anyway, now, without paying much attention to this, I pick up that bracelet from there and start walking back up towards the tent. But as soon as I pick up that bracelet from there and start walking towards the tent, I start hearing some strange and eerie noises from behind. Now, I don't care about these noises. I was just thinking that they must be some wild animals, and these are their sounds. Now, without wasting much time, I reach near my tent. As soon as I reach the tent, I think that I won't tell my friends about this bracelet. Because if I did, they might also demand their share from it, because I was fully convinced that the bracelet was made of gold, and if they both saw it, they would definitely tell me that we should sell it and split the money among the 3 of us. Friends, I never thought I would become so greedy after seeing that bracelet. And the friends whom I considered very close to my heart, now I was ready to hide this matter from them too. Someone truly said that greed blinds a person. And now, blinded by this greed, I couldn't see anything but that bracelet. Anyway, after that, I keep that bracelet with me, and then I also go inside the tent to sleep. Friends, I went inside the tent with that bracelet, but perhaps I had no idea that I had made a huge mistake by bringing that bracelet with me. And what was going to happen to me next, I had probably never imagined. Anyway, after that, I also fall asleep in the tent with my friends. Friends, I must have only been asleep for half an hour when I suddenly felt some movement on my neck. It was a movement, as if someone was stroking my neck with their hands. After stroking my neck for a few moments, those hands completely gripped my neck. Their grip became so strong that it became difficult for me to breathe. And when that happened, I suddenly opened my eyes and tried to free my neck. Friends, but as soon as I opened my eyes widened in horror. That sight was so terrifying that it's very difficult to put into words. But still, let me tell you what I saw. Friends, When those hands gripped my neck so tightly, it became difficult for me to breathe, and I started suffocating. Now, seeing myself in such a state, I tried to free my neck with my hands and open my eyes. But as soon as I opened my eyes, I see a monstrous face staring at me right next to my face. That face was so terrifying that I couldn't look at it for long. To me, it looked like a witch. She looked quite horrific at that moment. Her hair was completely open and disheveled. Her eyes looked like burning coals. Her lips appeared cracked and torn. The skin of her face also looked decayed. One more thing, friends, that witch was completely covered in ash. Her whole body was covered in that ash, just like an agori applies it. Her teeth and nails looked very long and terrifying. I wanted to scream, but the grip of her hand on my neck was so tight that screaming was out of the question. Even breathing was becoming difficult for me. Now I just felt that if I couldn't free my neck in 1 to 2 minutes, I would probably die. I was trying hard to free myself, but I couldn't see any effect of my efforts. That grip was so powerful that it was almost impossible for me to escape from it at that moment. I was just making futile attempts to free myself. Just as a bird flutters in its last moments, similarly, I was vigorously moving my arms and legs for my life. But friends, moving my arms and legs did benefit me, due to which my life was saved. Friends, what happened was that as I was struggling to save myself, my hand touched my friend Jake's arm, and when that happened, I grabbed my friend Jake's arm and shook him hard. I had also gripped his arm with a lot of strength and was shaking him hard to wake him up. Now when I do that, my friend Jake wakes up and asks me, "What happened, Sam? Why are you waking me up?" Now as soon as Jake said that to me, the grip of that witch on my neck loosened and I started breathing heavily. I had a very strong cough because until now I was suffocating. It's a good thing my friend Jake woke up. If he had been a little late in waking up, I probably wouldn't be alive today. Anyway, after that he asked me, "What happened, Sam? Why were you waking me up? And why are you so scared?" So hearing him, I tell him everything that happened to me just now, that a terrifying witch had gripped my neck tightly and wanted to kill me. But my words had no effect on my friend Jake. He, on the contrary, started making fun of me and said, "You found me to fool, and why are you scaring me so much at night, man? Anyway, I'm not afraid of your witch. Stop this fabricated story of yours and just go to sleep, brother. You must have had a bad dream. Otherwise, why would that witch appear only to you and not to me and Robert?" Friends, I kept trying to explain to my friend, but Jake was not ready to believe anything I said. Anyway, after that, I didn't sleep that whole night because I was so scared that I was just thinking that now that witch would come out from somewhere and kill me. But then, after a few hours, morning arrives, and then my 2 friends, Robert and Jake, wake up. After waking up in the morning, Jake also told Robert that Sam was saying such and such things last night. I also told Robert everything I saw last night. Friends, I hadn't told them about the bracelet. After that, Robert also doesn't believe me and says, "You must have had a bad dream." Both of them were making fun of my words. Anyway, now I couldn't do anything either. So I also give myself false comfort and tell myself that maybe it was just my bad dream. Because if that witch was really there, where did she suddenly go after Jake woke up? Anyway, even though I was giving myself false comfort, somewhere deep down, that fear was still lingering. After that, we roam around a bit and then pack up our tent and belongings and start heading back. I still hadn't told my friends about the bracelet. I was taking that bracelet from there to my house. But perhaps I was unaware because I didn't know what a big mistake I was making by taking that bracelet home. Anyway, after a few hours of travel, we reach our destination, and then both of them go to their homes, and I come to my home. Friends, now when I reach home, first I ask about my mother's well-being because her health is still not very good. Hearing me, she says, "I'm fine, son." And then she asks me, "How was your trip?" So hearing her, the whole scene that I experienced that night comes back to me. Anyway, ignoring that, I tell my mother, "It was good, Mom. We had a lot of fun." I didn't tell my mother anything about what happened to me. At home, I didn't talk to anyone about the incident that happened to me in that jungle because I was thinking that either they would make fun of my story or if they believed it, then they wouldn't let me go anywhere in the future. Because of this fear, I didn't tell anyone, not even my wife. Now, when I met my wife, she also asked about my trip. So I also lied to her, saying that I had a lot of fun. Friends, I did have a lot of fun, but what happened at night had spoiled the fun of my whole trip. Now, whether it was my dream or whatever it was, I was still feeling its fear. Anyway, after that, I take out the bracelet from my bag, the one I found at night, and then I show that bracelet to my wife. Seeing that bracelet, my wife becomes very happy and says to me, "Where did you get such a beautiful bracelet?" So hearing her, I tell her, "I got it from the jungle." So hearing me, she says, "Why are you joking? How did you get such a beautiful bracelet from the jungle?" So I say, "I'm not joking. I really found this bracelet in the jungle, and I think this bracelet is quite expensive. I'm sure it's gold." Hearing me, my wife says, "You're absolutely right. This bracelet really looks quite expensive, and it is gold." After that, I tell my wife, "We will get a lot of money by selling this bracelet, and with that money, we can fulfill many of our wishes." So hearing me, my wife says to me, "I won't let you sell this bracelet. First, let me wear it for a few days and satisfy my desire. Don't you see how lovely the bracelet is? You just gave it to me, and already you're dreaming of selling it." So hearing her, I laugh and say, Yes, brother. You fulfill your desire first. We'll do the selling later. Anyway, this bracelet is ours now. We can sell it whenever we want." Friends, to be honest, whenever I looked at that bracelet, the curtain of greed would fall over my eyes. And now, I started to feel a different sensation. I didn't consider myself less than a rich man, because I knew that this bracelet was very valuable, and I could bring in a lot of money by selling it whenever I wanted. Anyway, after that, my wife wore that bracelet, which was my wife's biggest mistake. I wish she hadn't worn that bracelet that day. Then the incident that was about to happen to her and me wouldn't have occurred. Friends, now what happens is that everything is fine during the day. But as night falls, we all eat dinner and then go to our respective rooms to sleep. Now, when we all fall asleep around 12:30 a.m., I hear the sound of those anklets again. The same sound I heard in the jungle. But I was still asleep. I was only feeling it. Then after a while, I feel something heavy on my chest. After a few minutes, that weight increases even more. And when it starts to feel heavier, I open my eyes. And when I open my eyes, what I see makes me sick to my stomach. Friends, I see that my wife is sitting on my chest, and she's staring at me in the same way that Witch was staring at me in the jungle at night. My wife's face had completely changed in an unsettling way. Her eyes had also become completely red, and she had her hair loose, and she was staring at me in a very strange way. Now, when I see this, my condition worsens out of fear, and I start trembling on my bed because now my wife's form is changing. My whole body was covered in sweat, and my throat was constricted with fear. After that, my wife suddenly grabbed my throat, just as that witch had grabbed my throat in the jungle, and grabbing my throat, she said to me, "Give me back my thing. Give it back, or I will destroy your entire family." Now, what thing was she talking about returning? I didn't know. My mind had stopped working due to fear, but I did one thing. As soon as my wife grabbed my throat, I somehow first loosened her grip and then screamed as loud as I could. Hearing my scream, my father and my younger brother ran towards my room, but the room door was locked from the inside. So both of them kept knocking on the door from outside. But when the door didn't open for a long time, my father and my brother kicked the door down. Now, when they entered the room, their eyes also widened in horror. My wife's entire face had turned black, and she was looking at them quite angrily, and she was still sitting on my chest. Now, after a while, my mother also reaches the room, and she too is quite shocked to see my wife's condition. My father and my brother first pulled me away from my wife. After that, my mother probably understood that whatever was happening was not normal. My mother quickly went inside and brought holy water from there, and then sprinkled that holy water on me and my wife. As soon as the holy water touched her, my wife was screaming very loudly. She was just saying, "Give me back my thing. Otherwise, I will kill your entire family." A little while later, my wife faints. After that, my father and I take my wife to the hospital. Friends, before taking her to the hospital, I had taken that bracelet off her hand and hidden it in my closet. Even at that time, I was worried about that bracelet, that if someone in the hospital saw it, someone might steal it. Even now, that greed remained within me. Anyway, after that, we admitted my wife to the hospital. Her condition was quite bad. Her treatment continued for a long time, and then something happened that none of us had probably ever thought of. Friends, what happened was that my wife had a miscarriage, and the second thing was that my wife had now gone into a coma. Hearing such news, I felt as if I had fallen from the sky. At that moment, I was as sad as I had never felt before, because I had not only lost my child, but there was also no guarantee of my wife surviving, because the doctor said that nothing could be said. My father and my younger brother were giving me courage, but perhaps whatever had happened today was all due to my greed. But I was still unaware of this. The next day, my friends also find out about this, and they come to the hospital the next day to check on me and my wife. After that, they ask me what happened. So hearing them, I tell them everything that happened to me last night and how all this came to be. Now both of them had also become serious. Among them, Robert says to me, "My father has a friend who is a spiritual healer. Maybe he can help you because what you've told me doesn't seem normal." After that, I tell Robert, "Do anything, man. Just get me to meet him." So hearing me, he says, "I'll take you to him today. Don't worry, man. I can understand your condition." Truly, friends, a true friend is one who helps in times of trouble, and how greedy I was that I hid that matter from my friends. Anyway, a few hours later, Robert, I, and Jake, the three of us, go to that spiritual healer whom Robert had mentioned. That man looked quite strange. He had long hair and a beard. He was wearing a black kurta pajama. There was a large mark on his forehead and some malas, rosaries, around his neck. He also had a large mala in his hand. Seeing us, he first asked about our well-being. He knew Robert well, so he first asked about Robert and his father. After that, he said, "Tell me, what help do you need?" So hearing him, Robert says to him, "Help is not for me, Baba. My friend needs help. Something very bad has happened to him." Before Robert could finish his sentence, that man interrupted Robert and said, "I know what happened to him." I was quite surprised because I wasn't sure if this spiritual healer was telling the truth. After that, he calls me to him and then tells me to sit in front of him. Then he places his hand on my head and closes his eyes and recites some mantras. After reciting mantras for a while, he says to me in a very angry tone, "She will not leave you and your family alive. The beginning has been made with the child in your wife's womb. Your wife had a miscarriage, didn't she?" None of us three had told this spiritual healer about the miscarriage. To be honest, I was now afraid of this spiritual healer. After that, the spiritual healer says to me, "You are the cause of all this. Because of you, your wife is in such a state today, and an even worse state is going to happen to your entire family." Now when he says that, I grab his feet. As soon as I grab his feet, he lifts me up and says, "You are already seeing the beginning of what you did, out of greed." After that, I ask that spiritual healer, "Babaji, what is the matter after all? Who will kill my family?" So hearing me, he says, "The one who is after you and your family is named Vetālika." Now hearing this name, I ask the spiritual healer, "Who is this Vetālika, Babaji?" So hearing me, he says, "Vetālika is a witch. Just as there are ghosts, spirits, and other supernatural beings, they have their own world. She is the queen of the Vetāls, who is called Vetālika. And if she sets her sights on someone, saving them becomes almost impossible. You can see her wrath for yourself. She has ruined your otherwise perfectly fine family. And this is just the beginning. This Vetālika mostly roams around cemeteries at night, and he is very powerful." Now I completely believed the spiritual healer's words, because on the day she had gripped my throat inside, even then, that witch's entire face and body were covered in ash. After that, the spiritual healer says to me, "Return whatever you stole from her if you want to be saved." Hearing the spiritual healer's words, I say to him, "Baba, I haven't stolen anything from anyone that I can return." So hearing me, the spiritual healer says to me, "There is something you have, remember." So after thinking a little, my thoughts go to that bracelet. Now, seeing my wife's condition and out of fear of losing my family, I had suppressed my greed. And then I tell that spiritual healer about that bracelet, that I found a bracelet in that jungle, and I brought that bracelet home and gave it to my wife. Ever since that bracelet came into my house, nothing good has been happening in my family. So hearing me, the spiritual healer says to me, where you found that bracelet, there used to be an old cemetery, and now that cemetery has been closed for a long time. But even today, many spirits and Vetālika roam in that place. It's a good thing you're still alive. Otherwise, it would have started with you. You're lucky to be alive so far. Hearing the spiritual healer's words, I ask him, what do I have to do now? So hearing me, he says, you will have to return that bracelet and I will write some mantras for you. You will put that bracelet back in the same place and recite those mantras. But remember one thing, when you return from there, do not look back. And you will have to do this alone, because if anyone else goes with you to that place, Vetālika will kill them too. After that, the spiritual healer also gives me a thread and says to me, this thread will protect you if anything goes wrong. But remember one thing, do exactly as I say, because when you return that bracelet, many other spirits will also be present there. You must not be afraid. They will try to scare you, and it's possible you may encounter Vetālika again. If you want to save your family, you must do this. After that, I agree to the spiritual healer's words and remember everything he told me, and I also take the mantras from him that I had to recite at that place. After that, I go home, take out the bracelet from the closet, and head towards the place where we went on our trip. I'd taken Robert's car. I knew how to drive. It was going to take me until night to get there, and the spiritual healer had also told me that I would have to do this at night. But I would have to do all this before 12 a.m. If I were late, perhaps my wife wouldn't survive tonight either, and I would also have to leave that place before 12 a.m. If I couldn't do that, then perhaps my life could also be in danger. According to the spiritual healer, I reached there at 9:30 p.m. and then parked my car on the side and set off on foot towards where we had pitched our tent. After about an hour's journey, I reached the place where we had pitched our tent. After that, I utter God's name and then descend to where the river was, and then in a short while reach the place where I had found that bracelet. Friends, to be honest, my condition was something I cannot even describe. It felt as if I would have a heart attack any moment. No one would dare to go to a cemetery at such a late hour. But I had to save my family. So that's why I had to do all this. You all just imagine once, if someone tells you to go to a cemetery at night, would you go? Now, many of you might also think, what's the big deal about that? So let me tell those people that at night a cemetery is completely a place of spirits, and even if someone returns safely from there, they are still affected by some shadow, and when that happens, their life is no less than death. So I request all of you never make such a mistake. Anyway, after that, I reach that place and then thoroughly clean the bracelet with a black cloth and place it back where I had found it, and then I start reciting the mantras instructed by the spiritual healer. This task took me about 20 to 25 minutes. When I was reciting the mantras, I heard the sound of anklets many times. But as the spiritual healer had said that I would have to ignore all these things and recite the mantras, I did exactly that. Now, when everything is done properly, I start to return. Before returning, I had also said at that place, whosever's bracelet this is, I am returning it, and I made a very big mistake unknowingly. Please forgive me. The spiritual healer had also told me to say this. After that, I returned from there. Friends, when I was returning from there, I heard very terrifying screams from behind. Intermittently, someone was also calling my name. Once I was about to turn back because someone was calling me in my mother's voice. But I had kept the spiritual healer's words in mind, and he had also told me, you might be called in the voice of someone you know, but you must not make the mistake of looking back. I obeyed all the spiritual healer's words and did exactly as he said. After that, I reached my car and then returned home. Friends, my wife doesn't get well immediately. After about 3 to 4 months, my wife's condition starts to improve, and then she fully recovers. Friends, truly, greed is a very bad thing. We should never be greedy because sometimes too much greed can be detrimental to life. By God's blessings, today I have 2 children. My family and I are quite happy again today. My only prayer to God is to always keep my family happy. And may God also keep all your families happy who have listened to my personal account. So, friends, how did you like our story? If you want to hear more such stories, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, US Frights.